Welcome back to Dear Unconventionals. Today we have the honor of interacting with Dakshita Das, a distinguished IRAS officer and a prolific author. With over 3 decades of career spanning in various government roles, she has also managed to pen down 2 books, Myself Meena IAS and Alpha Girl Beta Boys. Today we'll be knowing about her journey both as a bureaucrat as well as an author. Hope you guys enjoy this interaction. Thank you for joining us today, ma'am.
Thanks for having me over, Shivangi.
So we'll jump straight into it. To start with, why did you choose to have a career in the civil services?
Well, you have to rewind back to the India of the 1980s. There were very few choices available. You could become a lawyer. Principally, you could become a teacher if you were a woman. But I think in my case, I didn't want to get married because that was the other option. Turn 21, get married. That was a no-no for me. So one day I found my brother told me, he says, you want to apply for the civil services? And I come from a family of civil servants.
Achha.
I applied, I got through. There was no great motivation in me, no great desire in me, except to become a zealot type of a civil servant. It was just to qualify, do a dignified job, and perhaps avoid getting married as much as I can.
So lack of option, basically.
When the India of the 1980s really didn't have that kind of option.
Jitna exposure aaj hai.
Yeah, today it's like a huge field.
Yeah.
And that kind of things which we had to go through, postings in small towns, go here and there, take transfers. I don't think the young of India would like to do that. And I think it's a great opportunity the youngsters have today.
But you still got married?
Of course, yes. I mean, I didn't want to get into a typical marriage of the 1980s, which would be what would I say, an arranged marriage. I wanted to exercise my options.
Want to achieve first.
Yeah, and that which has been my story, that I've generally marched to the beat of my own drum. That was the thing when I was 21, 22.
That's one of the things why we have you here, because that makes you unconventional, like dancing to the beat of your own rhythm. Actually, that's a part of my intro as well. So nice. So did you have like parents who were supportive of it, or did they want to push you into marriage only? And did you have to fight to get where you are?
I think the whole journey would not have been possible without my parents. My father had a very strict mantra that at the age of 17, the children should leave the house and they should not stay at home. He would ask periodically, what are you doing? It's when I finished my graduation that he said that now you're turning 20, 21. How about marriage? I said, no, I don't want to. Then what? So we were both foxed. We didn't know what.
Then what?
But without his support and without my mother's support and my brother, my elder brother, I don't think I would have been able to. I was the first girl from the family, on both sides of the family, to take up this career. And I think it was only possible because of his enablement.
Right. So now you got into civil services and you've been achieving. So being a woman, has it been challenging for you, or what are the key challenges you must have faced?
Just one big challenge. I studied in Delhi and I was in NSR, then I was in Miranda for my post-graduation, and then I went to GNU. So life was in a sense very different, very free, and you never face that gender type of distinctions. But when you go into bureaucracy, and again I rewind to 80s when I joined, it was fairly conservative. But more than that was that when I took my first posting in Lucknow, which was not really what I would say a backward town, it was a fairly progressive town. It had seen legions of women and officers come and go. There was no ladies' toilet. And the very first day that I said, where's the loo? So they said, oh, well, there is this common loo and all that stuff, which of course was, what maintenance in India is like. What I'm leading up to is the fact that the women employees who were in that office would go to the next door cinema hall, the poshest cinema hall of now, and Mayfair Cinema, and pay the guy there and use those loosers.
So just use the loo.
2 years. So you can imagine a whole lot of women trotting like a barat and coming back. I mean, each time you saw a woman coming down the staircase, you go to the open road and go, how you knew, okay, no break.
And you break. Oh my God, really?
Those type of, the ecosystem was not conducive. But that apart, I did feel also that there were a lot of biases, the male-dominated.
So as controversial as that may sound, I'll ask you while I hear this, that you think because women working in the country was not encouraged, because of that, this could have been one of the reasons?
I think organically Indian society was not ready then. And because we had already had a woman prime minister by then. So I don't see that women per se didn't have adequate role models. I mean, India's had a tradition of a lot of women come and go and done great jobs. The problem was that Indian society was not prepared. So I can be prepared from my home, but you need not be prepared because of your home. So the cultural context was very different. Today, as we see more girls being born into families becoming nuclear, and a lot of kids, I'm, for instance, supporting one young girl in her education right now. She's from the village. And when I see her, she's so sassy. She's so bold. And I love it. You know, she's gone out from the village, gone straight to Patna, is living in a hostel, is negotiating. When I was discussing her clothes, because I gave her a budget, she said, I'm only going to wear trousers. So I said, why don't you put a little, dupatta or something, you've come from... But I realized I was a backward person. Because things have changed.
Yeah.
So each time when I'm reinventing my thoughts as I come into contact with the youngsters, I realize that things have changed a lot. The cultural context didn't exist then. There has been a rapid change in that. And I would say that from 2000 onwards, India is a very exciting place for women.
So now that we speak of male, female, so we are getting into the gender topic as well here. So I believe in the gender budgeting. I believe you have a role to play. Can you please tell us, our viewers actually, about what it means, what's its aim, and the strides India has reached with it?
So this gender budgeting essentially came in 2004 into India. At that point of time, again, it was a concept which was thrown at us from another entity.
The first act, I believe, came in 2005-06.
Yes. Right? So that the pre-run was the thinking, how to do it. So at that point of time, what was decided was, and that's how it was conceptualized worldwide, that let's pick up specific budget schemes, so where we can promote women's growth, interests, take care of their needs. So essentially, these are restricted to maternal care, child, things like that. Very limited. Then we broad-based it to education. We moved beyond the maternal health and the child health to education. But then things started changing rapidly. I'll tell you, for instance, that there was a scheme. Which state started it, I don't know, but I got to know of it from Tamil Nadu and then from Bihar, where the girl child was given a cycle to go to her school if she did very well. So after 8th or 10th, she was given a cycle. So we found that there was a whole lot of, enthusiasm for that scheme. Then we found Kerala coming out with schemes of low-floor buses for women, who had to go to, they would wear their traditional attire. So the traditional buses were a high step up. Now we had a low step up. How such sensitive schemes. Then we had another scheme which came to us from the Ministry of External Affairs about women who got into NRI marriages and were abandoned. So we found that the range of schemes started increasing. Women specific, women oriented. But the whole target continued to be geared around how to broad-base schemes for women's empowerment through the workspace. Because India, right now is one of the lowest in terms of women in the workforce. Yeah. And we also look at it, then we find that women at the apex levels are very few. In the private sector also, we find that the presence in the higher levels is very low. You won't find women as CROs and, holding such important positions. And though it's not, again, the organizations which are preventing. It is your own self-image, your self-worth, and the fact that you have to take care of children, now increasingly take care of the parents because of the, migration to nuclear families. Mm-hmm. So those are all concerns and criteria which have to be reflected in gender budgeting. We have gig economy. Do we have adequate schemes for training girls to enter the gig economy? So I'm not going to bore anybody with that, but the details. But the idea of gender budgeting was to create schemes which would empower girls.
So that's been your role also in it, where you've managed to implement it across various sectors?
Well, yes, I did play a role of advocacy, and all the states have adopted it. And last year, we had a committee for looking at revisiting gender budgeting. And I was the chairperson for that. That was appointed by the government. We given our recommendations, and those are with the government. But the idea is to keep on changing it to make the narrative more contemporary.
Okay.
And it's very important because now we have 50% of India is women. A lot of India is now aspirationally growing. And we have some very distressing statistics which are coming to us, like if you have a mobile phone in a family in the rural area, the boy gets preference over the girls.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of things which cause you concern, and which means that if you have to get Indian workforce more equitable, then you need more schemes for enabling the Indian woman.
Sure. And how far have we come with this since 2005, since it got implemented?
Long way. But more than that, Indian society has changed so much. More than that, Indian society has. I'll give you a little incident.
Yeah.
We worked with the railways, and we were a group of 4 or 5 women. One very, very powerful woman worked with me, and very strong woman. And it was an era where the unions were very strong. And they were male macho unions. You never found a woman there. So one day, one of the men came to our room, and he always used to have a gun, little gun peeping out. Intimidation. So in any case, he came and he told this lady officer, he's saying, "Aap meri baat to nahi maan rahi hai, lagta hai mujhe chudiyan pehnni padegi." And that lady took off her bangles and put them like that. She's saying, "Now let's talk, man to man." So those are the type of biases, and those are the type of situations which you encountered on a daily basis.
Sure.
So there were 2 things. One is perception, and the other was ecosystem. Now you don't have that anymore. Acceptance is very high, and you have a lot of laws which have benefited girls. So yes, the going is good.
So, ma'am, you've also been part of 15 different budget preparations, I believe, including the union budget. And I'd like to know some behind the scenes anecdote of a particularly challenging budget that you must have prepared and how you navigated it.
Oh, budget making is a very isolated activity. Those days more so. Now you have tech enablement. We were in that quasi phase where tech enablement was limited. And one of the now better known secrets of budget division is that for 10 days people are locked inside for the purpose of compiling and printing. And a lot of tug of wars would happen in that space. And, would you believe it? Even to serve them food, we used to have food tasters. So that, before the food went inside the confined area, nobody got poisoned inside. So you had a guy outside. So there used to be a tug of war for those people who wanted to be the tasters outside,
Oh, God.
So when the world sees the numbers and the world sees the finance minister stand up and give a speech, the process part used to be thoroughly entertaining and thoroughly nerve-wracking. Starting with the famous halwa ceremony.
What was the halwa ceremony?
So when the budget preparation work starts, we have the finance minister, the budget division gets halwa prepared, which the finance minister distributes, depending on the availability. Otherwise, the senior officers come. But in our time, we did a very big transition. From one halwa, we went to another. And that was like a big cause for debate. And why is he asking for so much of ingredients? Oh, the earlier guy was a crook. So the fun part of the budget process used to be here. Of course, it used to be very process intensive. But it was a challenge always because you have to get the numbers right. Yeah. Sometimes you're printing and you find that your press is broken down. Oh my God. And the whole thing is that, oh my God, you have to reach the parliament in time. You have to start loading the documents. All of that has gone into history now because now we don't look at physical documents. But at that time we were loading 25,000 documents.
25,000?
Yeah, and all of that had to be prepared by, say, a particular hour and transported to the parliament before the finance minister to be there on time and speak. So yes, nerve-wracking, and but great fun. And we built fantastic friendships. Great friendships, and which are very alive till today, I'll say.
So now that you have so many memories of your time and the friends you've made, everything combined, now you're retired from the job that you've been doing. So what has been keeping you busy? What assignments are you getting currently?
Lots of things are keeping me busy. I've been lucky, unlike an average retired person, that opportunities have come and I've experimented with a lot of them. But what I'm comfortable with right now is that I'm a government nominee director for ICAI, Institute of Chartered Accountants. I'm also on the board of some companies in the financial sector, a sector that I love and I have a great attunement with. What is something which I've very passionate about is writing.
Okay.
Writing and gender both have been my passion, so I am writing op-eds. And currently I'm in the process of submitting 2 research papers to a journal being published by academic. So yes, life is busy. I mean, you're a freelancer now.
Yeah.
And total freelancers, and you got to keep you got to be on your toes all the while, that you're not overcommitting.
Yeah.
So yes, sometimes you overcommit, but it's great fun. And I feel retirement is fabulous because the world is your oyster. You can do anything you want.
At any point.
At any point, and you got so many opportunities. This is India right now is a land of opportunities. I mean, tomorrow I can start singing also.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, why not?
Why not? So you mentioned about writing. So now we'll get into the author aspect of you, which is very, very exciting. So first of all, I really have to ask you, because it really intrigues me, that how have you managed to publish 2 books while being in this high pressure job and constant roles that have changed for you as a bureaucrat? And despite that, you have 2 books. How have you managed?
Frankly, Shivangi, I don't even remember how I wrote those books, but I remember the motivation. I was for 7 years in budget division, which meant that it was fairly isolated. The social group was also very limited to your colleagues and your peer group.
Sure.
So what happened then was that I learned to study human behavior, or I would find interesting snippets. And I don't know why casually I kept a diary.
Okay.
So when I came out of the budget division and I was in a post where there was an interaction with officers, one young girl came to my room and she said, I studied so hard for this exam. And is this the kind of work I have to do after I've qualified? And she just broke down. And I looked at her and I said, that's the problem. A lot of people take the civil services and they don't know what they are in for. Because qualifying the exam is one part of the story. Making a career is another part of the story. And your soul dreams. Your soul dreams that you'll get a gadi with a batti and you'll be this and you'll be huge. That's what social media is doing now.
As soon as you enter.
Yes. So you start seeing that you just got to qualify the exam and voila, par waits for you. And this girl eventually took time off and then, of course, she's there now. But somehow then I went back to my notes and I said, yes, I've got enough to prove that bureaucracy is something which is tough to navigate. And should you or should you not, should be a conscious choice whether you join. That's when myself, Meena, came in.
So, which brings me to the obvious question. So, guys, I've also read Myself, Meena, IRAS. It's one of the most beautiful books. Please pick it up, read it, and I'm sure you'll like it. Please leave in your comments below as well. So, with that, I asked the most obvious question, which I'm sure many people who have read it have asked you. Is it your story?
No. It's everybody's story. So, I already had the human notes, and anybody who came to my room was one chapter in the book. Because people are so interesting. I mean, anybody human beings are the best things to study. Anybody would come in and, you knew that voila, you have
something.
You have something, Look, the heroine, the main protagonist, her love interest, these were very typical characters you could see around you those days. The male protagonist is somebody who comes from, this upper crust South Indian family, with legions of people who've been bureaucrats and, that type of a background. And the girl comes from what I would say a middle-level bureaucracy family, not a bureaucrat, but a doctor's family. And then, in all my books, there's a dog, because that time when you were, so many people would come and talk about their dog problems to me. That time, a lot of people had kept Labradors. And you remember the pug was very popular.
Yeah, of course, because of the ad.
So a lot of people kept pugs, and then they had a lot of problems. That would be common in the office. Who's your vet? So those all became stories. You have to wield it together. When you write a book, you get into incidents of everyday kind, and then you have to build a thread around them. You have to put a thread around them to tie them up.
Yeah, it has to reach some.
Yeah. So there I put in long distance romance. Mine was not a long distance romance. I didn't even know how a long distance romance is conducted. But you study, and you get enough number of people around you to tell you their experiences. Yes, unwittingly, I have listened to people and not told them that I'm putting that into the book.
Ah, of course.
But that's the way it came. It's not my story. It's too many people's.
Oh, so it's very live. Like, is it like still fiction? Like, did you add a few elements of your own from your own imagination into their own story?
No doubt, because you have to wield it together. But like there's one incident in this about how she goes into the first training, and she goes into the rest house, and she finds that in the washroom, and I'm sorry if you're talking so much about washrooms.
No, it's okay.
She finds that there is a tin mug, clunky tin mug, tied with a chain to the tap.
Train type.
And she said, like, it's so stupid, but it was so typical of those days.
Yeah.
But of course, I got that from the train, but I built it into the story here. So that's how myself, Meena, came in. And so there was this friend of mine who was posted as a DRM somewhere. And she said, God, I've got a spooky house and there's a grave of a dog over there. I said, really? She said, yeah, man, I tell you, I can't tell you. It's a huge rambling house. And in the garden, there is a grave of a dog. So why not? That went into the book.
Oh, just picked up and go.
Yeah, so that's how it was. That's how it was welded together, not my story. In fact, as we speak, I just got a mail saying that I've received my royalty check. 8 years into publication and the book sells. I'm happy.
Myself, Meena came out 8 years ago.
Yeah, it's good. It's good for me. I feel happy that book struck a chord. But Myself, Meena remains close to me.
Yeah, it's your first, it's your baby.
It's my baby, and also because it was a journey into why at all do you need to take the exam.
Sure.
Should you or should you not?
Nice. So that's how you had the art of like building characters. It's inherently in you, or did you have to develop some skill?
I come from a large family. Gossiping is in our DNA. So yes, it's very easy to read human beings and to be light-hearted about them.
Oh, to have a sense of humor.
Yeah, most certainly. And to, just play down any problems of life, because you realize in large families that you got to learn to survive.
So these learnings you incorporated into writing both your books.
Alpha Girl, Beta Boys was a bit of a struggle because that time I was much senior, so the challenges are more. And I was also heading National Housing Bank, so the challenge was even more. But by then I had learned within myself that if you don't have a hobby, you can't survive. So writing was my hobby.
Right.
Traditionally, I would reach office on time. Typically, I don't indulge much in office gossip. Typically, also, my lunch hour is my own. Was my own. So what happened is that I started writing.
Oh, okay.
And the trigger for that also came from my environment.
Okay.
But Alpha was a very tough thing because I chose the subject of 3 kids. So India has changed. When I was writing Alpha Girls, Beta Boys, already the change was very visible.
Okay.
And so the research had to be more there. The trigger came from the colony kids, but the real part of building up how the young think, what do they want, relationships are so different now. In our time we were escaping maybe a particular set stereotypical way of thinking. But now because of choices, kids are very different.
Right, of course. So changing times. Yeah. So why do you find the topic of gender dynamics so intriguing? Because I think even Alpha Girl, Beta Boys deals with gender dynamics, right? So why is this topic so intriguing to you?
I think I've seen women take difficult choices. I've seen the struggles in which they have grown, which they have evolved. And I do believe that eventually what we need is not a vision. That's my personal view. I write about it also. My view is not that you should be female or male, but my view is that you should be gender neutral. And that is why this topic intrigues me. Believe you me that the future where 1 or 2 generations of women grow within a family to be independent, to be vocal, to take choices, you will find extreme level of neutrality coming in. And that is what a society should be. You should have total gender neutrality, and that's why this topic intrigues me. I often look at families. Has a working grandmother been able to pass down a particular thinking pattern to, to the next one or the next one? Are there role models? India is still far away.
Yeah, it's still developed.
It's still far away from gender neutrality. But that fun element for women is missing. Yeah. And that's what I feel really I yearn for.
Yeah.
Having an equal space in marriage, having an equal space in the workplace, having a voice of your own. I mean, these are things which are so difficult for women still.
Do you feel that in India it's still a far-fetched dream?
I would agree. I would say that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what your views are, but my feeling is that Indian women have a long way to go. I mean, even in meetings and all, how to conduct them, how to speak, how to aspire. Aspiration is so important.
Of course. Some women don't have aspirations only because they've not been encouraged from the beginning itself.
And so, yeah, I mean, that's so limited, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. I think we are one of the privileged few, as a matter of fact, as we speak.
Of course.
Yeah.
And we don't know what type of a culture we are passing down. The thing is that it should be equitable. I mean, all of us should be in an equal space as far as our desires and aspirations go. I said neutrality.
Yeah.
And that's when you are not saying कि मेरा काम है मोबाइल देखना और टीवी देखना और तुम्हारा काम है घर में. I mean, I'm not talking about my income class alone. I'm talking about the large part which is India. Because if you look at the demography of India, which income class is growing? It's actually an income class where patriarchal norms are very high.
Yeah. So, ma'am, my next question has 2 parts to it. You mentioned you were writing while, of course, you had a job. You've had an illustrious career. Did you, for one, the first part, that you always knew since childhood or in between that you wanted to be a writer somewhere and it got lost while trying to achieve whatever you did? And once you answer that, we'll come to the second part.
I grew up under Irish nuns in Loreto, Lucknow. And recently we had an old girls' meet, and all the girls are reminding me that, remember, you were such a prolific writer. I don't remember that. All I remember is that because, see, at 17 I was out of the house and I was shifting gears. Each time I changed colleges, I changed hostels. So at some stage you start internalizing. How many times can you go back to your parents and say, oh my God, this sucks? And how many girly friends can you have, on whose shoulders you can cry on? So that sense of privacy in me forced me to keep diaries. And that became my first writing.
That's where you developed the interest, basically.
That's where I developed the skill of writing.
The skill of writing, right. So, which brings me to the second part of it, that how challenging was it for you to balance this work and this hobby things? This is also important for the viewers who are trying to write at the current.
It was very easy for me. Look, first of all, my personal life is very easily balanced. We've had health hiccups and all of that, but personal life has been very balanced. And because my husband has a very definite hobby, so that also meant that, his engagement keeps him in a different space. So for me also, it was very important to have my own engagement. I mean, it was a continuum. So what happens is that when your home life is very balanced and when you tend to, mature fast, you find that things roll out very smoothly.
So what is that one tip for the viewers to maintain that balance also? For you it happened, but what do they do that they can pursue their habit?
March to the beat of your own drum. as I started.
As you started, yes. Right. So, ma'am, you spoke about writing at length. I would also like to know that, and also about self-doubt, as a matter of fact. So, did you at any point go through self-doubt about writing, and did you ever experience a writer's block along the way?
Yeah, so I have self-doubt even today. I mean, you always have self-doubt, and that's the part of the challenge, so that you come out with something, a new thought, because there's so many people writing now.
Yeah.
But writer's block is something which is a part of the story, and there are days when you just can't even force yourself to get down to your laptop or your whatever and write, and then you have to get the discipline. Look, the key to any hobby is having discipline. If you don't have that discipline, you don't go anywhere. So when that happens, I have to shake myself out. I go into my study, pick up a few books, force myself to read, admire, appreciate other people who've written much better stuff. I'm a very, I'm an infant into writing. So I personally believe that the writer's block is a part of the story, just as self-doubt is, because both challenge you into giving a better product.
Okay. And how can people not give up still?
Oh, you should never give up anything in life. You can, yes, come out with something and realize that it's not well received. Like I'm sitting with you today. Tomorrow I might feel that this whole thing has not been well received. But then I can also feel it's very well received. But do I have to feel the fear in me before I take the plunge? I don't need to. I mean, unless you experiment, where are you?
So, writing is a creative process, and you're saying that it should still have a discipline? Creativity does.
No doubt, you can't just write words. I go to market to buy milk. That's not, that itself becomes a struggle. Because you are writing, you are bored with what you're writing. You're bored with your thoughts. You need the inner mojo. And that comes when you keep on struggling with yourself. There are days when you can't do it. Like last week of these 2 papers I was referring to, they lay in my inbox for weeks. I'm co-authoring them with somebody, one of the papers.
Sure.
And then one day the deadline came. And even then I couldn't motivate myself. And what was I doing? I was watching Netflix, or I was chatting with somebody, or I was just, I don't know what I was doing, bugging my husband. Something or the other I was doing. But I was definitely not doing what I was targeted or committed to do. And then one day it just came. The writer's block vanished. And I wrote both the pieces. And I sent them off to my co-writer, and he said, wow, you've been up the whole night. I said, yeah. He said, you're back in business. I said, I am. So he can write. He writes consistently, but I do have phases of a long stretch. And that's because I think I'm constantly grappling with new thoughts. Right. Because you have to challenge yourself.
So with the writer's block, can you just give one quick tip to our viewers? If anybody out there who's writing and is stuck for days now, what is that one thing that they should do consistently, if you could tell our viewers that keep...
You have to read. Read. When you face a writer's block, read. Pick up anything. Pick up light fiction, pick up serious stuff, pick up a newspaper, but read. I know this generation doesn't read newspapers much, but there's always merit in picking up a book, turning the pages. Some word will strike a chord inside you, and it's very painful. It can take weeks sometimes, but never get impatient with it. Never get impatient. Writing is it's nothing else but an acquired skill. It's your thoughts and an acquired skill on paper. And that passion comes. When it comes, then you'll find it so easy and so good.
Nice. Thank you, ma'am, for that. So, you got 2 of your books published. Did you feel that you faced any kind of rejection or criticism before getting it published? Was it a hard journey?
Yeah, it was very hard. The first one was very hard when I came out. A lot of people asked me why I kept that title. I think I kept that title because I consulted a writer.
The first or the second?
The first one. And the first one, he said that, look, nothing sells in the market unless you have a catchy title. Maybe if I revisit, I would not keep that title. But I went by the advice of somebody who'd already published 8 books and was a successful author. So those type of things, when I came out with that title, then there was a lot of a cross-examination. Why did you give that title? Why that? Why not something else? So those are the type of things which happened. Then when the book came out, a lot of people didn't like the content. A lot of people thought that I was copying ABC. But that I'm okay with it. As I said, once the product is out in the market, I give a damn. It's there. It's there in public. What can I do about it? I can't withdraw the book.
Yeah, now it's out there.
Accept and move on.
Nice. So, which brings me also to ask, why did you choose the title that you chose for the second book?
You said it. It's about a dominant girl and two lovesick boys. That is the theme of the book.
Okay, so Alpha Girl and Beta
And
Boy,
Beta
because of that.
Yeah.
Right. So, ma'am, you've also had a very illustrious career, very high pressure work that you've been doing. What are the activities or hobbies you have that help you unwind?
Reading, writing, bugging people around the family. I come from a large family. Half the time I don't have the residual time. But I also been lucky that I think I have a great sense of humor. And I have a tendency to...
Yes, you do, as we know from our interaction today as well.
I tend to see things lightly. But I don't have spare time. Shivangi, the thing is, I'm really short of time. As I said earlier, I'm a freelancer now. Last 3 years have been busier than what it was when I was in an organized job. So I think that time is definitely very short for me. So I wish I were more hours in the day.
So when you do get the like that time, you prefer reading and writing?
Yeah, I mean, I am now doing forced reading because I'm doing writing.
Thanks. We do have a third book in store.
No, I'm now out of fiction because fiction is tough. But yes, I may come out with something which will be, well, let's keep it for another episode. I'm working on something, but it's not fiction.
Oh, so we'll wait for it eagerly.
No.
What's going to come out next? How long has it been since the Alpha Girl and Beta Boys came out?
2019 it came out.
2019.
Yeah.
So it's been a long gap, ma'am.
Yeah, wait, I've been writing columns and edits and op-eds. So I'm kept with the art of writing. I've kept in touch with. But yes, fiction is out now. Fiction is out.
Oh, we'll miss it. But I think never say never.
Yeah.
You might have a fourth, fifth one.
I don't think the market also has much demand for fiction.
Oh, is it?
I think so. People read more condensed stuff. And which story do you tell? You got to really have a good story to tell.
Sure. So for all those people who want to become writers, authors, do you think reading is very important?
That's the foundation for writing. That's the foundation. How do you know how to write or what to write? And that's where reading plays a very important role.
Okay. So, ma'am, any pivotal moments in your life that became turning points for your career as well as a writer?
Yeah, well, one was when I was posted in one of my field postings. And the back of beyond, a place called Khalispur, beyond Allahabad. And to reach that place, you had to take a tempo, those ugly looking structures you used to have those days in early 90, and then change into a bus because there was no vehicle. You had these diesel cars which would break down halfway. And then you used to reach the office to find some very crummy work going on there. And one day I did this loop and came back home. And I said that, no, I got to do something better with my life. And then I said that, what do I do? But what's better? And then one of my staff told me, he'd just come from Delhi as a posting to that area. And he said that he'd worked in the Ministry of Finance. And he said that, madam, why don't you start reading? That's why I talk of that. And I picked up the Economic Times, I remember then. And I couldn't understand a word. And I said, man, I am so-called civil servant and I can't understand a word of this, The policies, the narratives, that time it was a very well, it still is, perhaps I don't read it, but very well-respected paper. And I said, how can I be so deficient? And I'd realized I'd lost on those 5 years of my life. I'd written my MPhil in 1987, which was on Vietnam studies. And after that, 7 years later, I couldn't understand. I just lost touch with life. And that was the turning point. I took a decision that I needed to step out from these hole-in-the-wall postings, move to Delhi, get into deputations, try to get finance ministry, which I got, because that was my first love. And yes, life grew from there.
That's nice. And ma'am, this has been incredibly insightful. Thank you so much. Before we let you go, we'll get into a quick top 3 fun banter with you. And we'd like you to answer as rapidly as you can.
Sure.
So we have 3 questions and 3 pointers for each you have to give us.
Okay.
So ma'am, my first question is 3 books you want our viewers to definitely read.
To Kill a Mockingbird, any of the Georgette Hare books, particularly if you're a woman, to get a good sense of humor. My favorite is Arabella, which I'm just rereading. And please get the entire collection of Tintin and Asterix comics.
Comics? At any age?
Now, I'll take you to my study. It's my prize reading.
Interesting. 3 things you want people to take back from both your books.
Never take life seriously. Always see people around you, because that's the biggest learning, and never have self-doubt.
But you do yourself even today?
Self-doubt, not on a permanent basis. I qualify.
And 3 lessons you have learned in your life as a bureaucratic person and as an author.
You can't trust people too much. You make great friendships in bureaucracy. Few, but great friendships in bureaucracy. And bureaucracy is great fun for observing human beings. It's a repeat, but please enjoy what you see there.
And as an author?
I really don't have much to give as an author, except to say that, well, that's a struggle. Right?
Journey is still ongoing, so maybe we can ask this question in the next hopeful episode for your next book when it comes out. So finally, ma'am, my second last question to you is, second last I'm saying, because there's one more I have for you, which is similar. The first one being, what advice do you have for aspiring writers who are managing a difficult job and want to be writers as well?
Keep a diary. Keep a diary and ensure that you write at least 1 page a day.
Sure. And one advice for people who want to have a career similar as yours?
Keep on experimenting. Keep on experimenting. And when you're at your job, read about the job. A lot of mistakes people do that they don't learn from the job. They feel that once they are there, anything which comes on their table, that's enough to carry them through. But you've got to do better, you've got to have that little larger view and have empathy. As a bureaucrat, being a bureaucrat is a very big gift. You can do a lot. Empathy plays a very important role.
Sure. So ma'am, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. It's been an absolute delight, absolute pleasure to have this interaction with you today. And we hope to see you very, very soon. Thank you. And guys, thank you for watching Dear Unconventionals. Please like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you next week on the next episode of Dear Unconventionals. Keep watching.